Hello, I'm Bob Ganzak, and this is MotivationU the Podcast. Live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill here at Celebration Point, inside, I mind you, inside the coach's podcast room. This is MotivationU the Podcast. Life has been like crazy for the last few weeks, and I thought today what we would do is just kind of review many of the programs that we've had so far. This is our 12th program. We've had 11 that you can go back and watch. You can find them wherever you love to find your podcasts. You can find it on Facebook Live. You can find it on YouTube, Applecast, Spotify. Wherever you go for your podcasts will be there. There's like 39 different places that you're able to find MotivationU the Podcast. And we've had some incredible shows. And today, I just want to relive some of those. I went back and kind of watched parts of each and every one of them. And I thought to myself, how lucky am I to be able to sit with people like these individuals and talk leadership, just to absorb and grasp a little bit of what they have to share. And the whole reason for this podcast was really one simple idea, and that was that you don't have to be Warren Buffett or Elon Musk or Bill Gates to be a great leader. Being a great leader doesn't have a dollar sign in front of it and a bunch of digits and commas. It's always nice to have those, yet that doesn't make a great leader. We find them every place in our life. We find them at the hospital. Somebody that is, heading the nighttime nurses that make the other people that are working and employed there and the individuals that happen to be cared for there feel better. That's leadership. It's the person that works at the Rite Aid or the CVS that has maybe 18 or 19 employees under them that changes their lives and make them want to come to work every day. That's leadership. And those are the people that we wanted to find and talk to. So we're going to kind of review some of those today, touch on some of the highlights that I felt from each one of those individuals that I took away from it. You can go find it and look back in the archives and listen to them and watch them and you can pick your own little nuggets out of there because that's what I did. First of all, before we get into the show, I'd like to talk about everything that's going on. This is Thursday, October 21st. Amazing that October is almost over. Yesterday was the first October 20th without my sister. She passed away earlier this year, and she shared a birthday with Tom Petty. Of course, yesterday was Tom Petty's birthday. And it kind of caused me to reflect a little bit, and I was thinking about that. And I started thinking about the Dale Carnegie programs. We started a new class this past Monday night in Tifton, Georgia. Shouting out to you, Tifton. We've got a class starting there. Tuesday night, we were in session 5 here in Gainesville, Florida, with our group over at Hotel Indigo. Yesterday, we graduated a class at Gainesville Housing Authority, which was an 8-week entity. Tonight, I get to drive over to Jacksonville and graduate a class there So it's really been a busy Dale Carnegie week. We have upcoming classes. January 25th will be the next class in Gainesville and Jacksonville. So January 25th, put it on your calendar, mark that. Plus, don't forget that there's always Carnegie Online. If you go to our website, which is www.jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com, you can search for some of the online classes and incredible program there. A lot of great leadership products that are not those in the can type of things. They're live. I mean, you sign up for that and you take the class live. It's incredible. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to spend about a half hour with the CEO of Dale Carnegie and Associates, Joe Hart, gentleman that has an incredible podcast himself. His is a little bit bigger. He gets that real high-end individual, great at asking questions too. So if you get a chance to find Joe Hart's podcast, you want to do that. But the Dale Carnegie side of the world, I've had people tell me as leaders that I don't like to push my people into programs like that. I thought to myself the other day, I was talking to an individual that said that to me. I would add more people in this class, but I don't like to push people into it. I said, well, if it was a technical end, and these people were all in IT, I said, if it was in a technical end and there was something that they had to learn to improve their technical job, you would send them someplace, wouldn't you, to take the class? You would tell them they had to go. Yeah, I would. That's what he said to me. So why don't you try to help them improve in areas that maybe you haven't thought of before, like their personal skills or improving how they communicate with people? That's a huge part of the business world. Yet we don't tend to. I don't want to push them into that. That's getting in their space. Hey, that's what we do as leaders. We take people out of their comfort zone and help them get to another part that they never dreamed they could. And then they'll thank you for it down the road. So that's a huge part of what leadership is. So let's jump into some of these. I'm not going to go in order. I just saw Jeffrey Meldon in class the other night, and so we'll start with the Meldon. So what a great program we had, and I don't know what week it was. It was probably around week 6 or 7 in there someplace that the Meldons were on. That's Jeffrey Meldon and Carrie Meldon, the partners in Meldon Law, wonderful Gainesville, state of Florida law firm. Just great people. But what I took out of that was the ability to listen to one another. Anytime you have a dynamic of father and son, it's a challenge. Yet here's two people that really respect one another and really work to move things forward. And Jeffrey Meldon is just an inspiration, a bottle of energy. And then Carrie's got that thoughtful side, the more analytical side, and together they play off each other really well. But it was that inner drive and that ability not to ever give up that I got from Jeffrey Meldon. He just, if you listen to his podcast, it's energy from the minute it starts right until the end. And that's an incredible thing to have. When you can bring energy to your team, to your group, to your clients, to your community, that's a great leadership attribute. Mr. Carnegie said that the little-known secret to success is the word enthusiasm. When you're enthusiastic, it makes everything different. It makes the people around you different. And that enthusiasm is what Meldon Law Firm really has. I love the fact that I get to walk into there and talk to their employees and different people. They've had a number of people go through the Dale Carnegie program, which you start seeing that impact all over the office. And so starting with the Meldons, that was just a lot of fun to really listen to the two of them talk about leadership and to play off each other. And, we talk sometimes about husband and wife, they start answering each other, finishing each other's sentences. We saw that in the Carrie Jeffrey thing where they know where the other person is going. And it's great to have a law firm that has partners like that. In week one, we had Mayor Scott James Matheson. Now, Mayor Matheson is a dear friend of mine. He and I used to work together in one of our radio stations for a long time. He was my director of operations when I was the general manager there, and just an awesome guy. Just extremely dedicated. I can share with you that his morning show started at 6 o'clock in the morning, but Scott would be there at 4:30, 4:45 every morning doing his show prep, prepared to go on the air. And when that microphone opened up at 6 o'clock, it was 3 hours of extremely engaging content, which he's carried that on into his life as mayor. So now he talked to us about balancing the entrepreneurship and the political side of life. And how do you keep them separate when everybody wants to blend them together? And Scott's got a very conservative radio station. He's a conservative talk show host. Many constituents of his in the Valdosta area are not conservative. So there's been a lot of pushback at Scott and how he's handled that. He shared that with us right on his show. Somebody's trying to get a hold of me. It's amazing, but it's shut off. It's what you have when you have an Apple Watch. They ring when you don't expect them to, but it's all good. So anyway, Scott has had a lot of people trying to come in and push him in an area or kind of put him in a corner, and his ability to work through that and work out of that. Watch that podcast. It's really an excellent idea on how you can balance that. And his words to us that day were, prepare for anything. Expect anything to happen. And that was a big thing from Scott James. And I can tell you the city of Valdosta, there's been a lot of things that he has implemented, and there's been a lot of challenges in his time as mayor there. Week 3, we had 2 awesome ladies on, Doreen Wiebe and Jennifer Meisenhelder. Doreen shared with us her story of Beirut, Lebanon, to Paris, France, to coming to America, changing her whole life, the communication aspect, reinventing herself from being somebody that was, studying French literature, wanted to get her PhD in French literature, to being one of the most successful real estate agents in Central Florida. I mean, it's been incredible to see the challenges that she's overcome, the confidence that she's developed and how she did that. Really interesting to spend 20, 25 minutes with Doreen and take a look at how she really, she's really learned to channel some of her frustration and how she deals with stress, how she's pushed herself to overcome obstacles. Interesting as can be. It was a great show in week 3. And then Jennifer Meisenhelder, an engineer in the utilities department at the University of Florida. And, here's a lady that, extremely bright, extremely intelligent, and not the type of person that you would think would be, I don't want to say, she's not the type of person that would be a Penn State grad, but she is. I don't mean it that way. Yet, she played rugby there. She's coached rugby. She's done things and accomplished things. She's traveled the world and helping to bring fresher and cleaner water to people around the world. Just an absolute humble leader. Excellent to take some time and watch that part of week 3. That was Doreen and Jennifer Meisenhelder, both graduates. I've had them both in class. Doreen's been a graduate assistant, one of the best graduate assistants, if not the best graduate assistant I have ever had. She's just absolutely dynamic in the room, has learned how to anticipate, which is an incredible leadership skill. Not that you anticipate in a negative way where you circumvent what might happen, but preparing yourself so that when that does happen, you are ready to react quickly. Just absolutely wonderful. And we had, I believe it was week 4, we had Coach Bob Miller. First of all, earlier this week, Bob lost his older brother, Tom, who was my age. Tom and I played ball together when we were growing up, and then Bobby and I played ball at the University of Detroit together. His dad was our head coach. But so, my condolences go out to the Miller family. Tommy was a great guy, and we are going to miss him, but got a lot of great memories of Tom Miller. Anyways, but Coach, works in that in the 50c3 world, the non-for-profit, and don't let people fool you. That's not an easy world to live in, and we discussed how the leadership has, really been needed in a different way in that world. And he's got such a great insight, wonderful storyteller, absolutely great storyteller. I think both of us learned from one of the best, and that was his dad. His dad could spin a story about baseball like nobody's business, just captivated your mind. And Bob has done the same thing. I've watched a couple of his podcasts too. He keeps that same type of attitude going there. So if you want to take a look at some of the leadership styles within the non-for-profit world, that was a great show. That was a lot of fun. Can't forget week 2. We had Coach Steve Spurrier on. Coach was kind enough to come in and spend a half hour with me, and just an absolute joy to be with him. And when I rolled that back, I was sharing this story with a couple of people last night. When you roll that back to what was going on at that time, Bobby Bowden was still with us. Coach Bobby Bowden of Florida State was still alive. And Coach Spurrier had just been asked to give him a call. I guess Coach Bowden had reached out and asked 20 people to have a conversation with him before he went. And Coach Spurrier was one of those people, and you could see the emotion in his face as he shared that story with us, and some of the stories that he shared off of camera too, which were just absolutely amazing. Yet the one thing that I picked up, and I have repeated it many of times since then, is that ability to listen to your team. When he told the story of coaching at Duke and they're playing Clemson, it's come down to the end. They had beat Clemson in forever, and the game's coming down to the end, and there's a real key play, and it's like a 4th down play, and he was going to go with one call, and the team came over and said, "Hey, Coach, we've been doing this a whole game, and it's been kind of working good. Why don't we continue to do that?" Coach looked at him and he said, "Let's do it." And he told our audience that day, he said, they were the guys on the field. They're playing the game. They know what's going on, and I trust their input. What a great lesson in leadership. How often do we hear leaders or see leaders or the leaders I've been around in my past that have no idea what's going on in the field. Maybe they were in the field 30 years ago. Life changes. And you give them input, and they go, that's just not the way we do it. Okay. And then, when the thing goes off the rails and goes south, the first person they point a finger at is you. And it just amazes me. And Coach Spurrier brought that to us, that that's not the way you do it. You listen to your team, get the input, then, make those moves. My dad always taught me, if you don't have time to do it right the first time, how are you going to have time to do it over again? And a lot of that plays into the leadership world, because I'll hear an employee give their boss some technical suggestions, right? Some technical suggestions of how a room should be set up or how something should take place. And the boss, maybe they're older, maybe they're just not as skilled or schooled in that area of electronic information, will say, no, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it this way. And so they try it that way, and it fails. And they usually end up going back to the way that the employee first suggested that they do it. So that, that kind of falls under that, if you would have done it right the first time. Listen to your team. They are out there. They're doing the studying. They're the ones that are utilizing this data and this information and the system and running the machines. They know the feedback. They look at it from a different angle than we see it. So please, as a leader, follow Coach Spurrier's advice and get input from your team and listen to them. Sometimes it's okay to go in that direction. Sometimes I think leaders don't want to because they're fearful of their job. Because if one of their subordinates gives a suggestion and it works, well, maybe that means that they don't need me anymore. Hey, get over that, Have some guts, intestinal fortitude, work through it. Everybody rises. Rising tide lifts all boats. All you want to do is get to the top. You just want to keep growing, and encouraging your people to grow and grow. The second half of that day, we had Dr. Glenn Miller on. Dr. Miller is a graduate of the Dale Carnegie course. He is an incredible friend of mine, and his wife works with us at Dale Carnegie. She's very integrated with the background, the marketing, and the behind the scenes work at Dale Carnegie. Both Liz and Glenn have been graduate assistants many, many, many times, and I just love having them in the room when they're there. But Dr. Miller, he talked to us about many things. Now, here is a man that raised a family along with his wife, 2 children, wonderful kids. Both are in law enforcement now. Both work in law enforcement. He started his career as a police officer in Atlantic Beach, Florida, and then grew and grew, but all the while raising a family, having a nice long marriage, developing into an incredible employee and deputy. Also, went and got his college degree. Oh, then he went back and got his master's degree. Oh, let's go over here. SWAT team. Then he went back and got his doctorate. That took a week, right? No, took 7 years. 7 years to get his doctorate. That's 3 times a week driving from Yulee, Florida, to Gainesville, Florida, to get his doctorate in education here at the University of Florida. Perseverance. And then I have people tell me I don't have time to take that class. You don't have time? What do you mean by that? What do you mean? you have time to sit there and look at this thing forever. Oh, I'll just sit there and look at this for, but you don't have time to develop your skills. Get up 5 minutes earlier in the day. Get up a half hour earlier. Change your lifestyle. That's what Dr. Miller taught me that day, was whatever there is as an obstacle, you can overcome it. Yeah, you can bust right through it. I mean, just that energy that he shared with us, and it was amazing. So perseverance. Do not put restrictions on your growth. Whatever it is that you want to attain in life, try. Go for it. Do what you can to make that happen. We're going to take a quick break here. We'll come back and we'll go through the rest of the people that we've talked to and share a couple of other thoughts and ideas. I appreciate you letting me review these. It was such a great thing to sit down the other evening and just reflect on the last 11 weeks of my life and what the show has meant to my growth as a human being. We're coming to you live from the Coach's Podcast room here inside of Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Don't forget about Visors upstairs either. You got to check this place out. Here at Celebration Point, which is just an absolutely incredible place. And I'll tell you what we'll do. When we come back, we'll talk about Svein Dirkelbotten, the gentleman that has developed Celebration Point, and some of his thoughts on leadership. This is MotivationU the Podcast.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere.
If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Looking for more reasons to celebrate? We have them here at Celebration Point. Enjoy some of the newest additions to our already celebratory lineup, like Dave & Buster's, Les Macarons, and Prime and Pearl. There's always a reason to celebrate. Join us anytime for any occasion. Celebration Point, where Gators come to celebrate.
Gosh, I can't even believe this. Look what you have done to my truck.
Excuse me, it's your fault, it's not my fault.
Yes, it is your fault.
No,
I am calling Jeffrey Meldon from Meldon Law.
So I'm gonna call Jeffrey, my husband.
Meldon Law, this is Jeffrey speaking.
Jeffrey!
This crazy lady here, this crazy lady here might...
New client?
Yes, but this one might be a little tricky.
Welcome back to MotivationU the Podcast, live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Coach Steve Spurrier, his Gridiron Grill, this wonderful farm-to-table restaurant. The food is just like incredible, fresh, and my goodness, and it's just The other part of that, too, is one of the most incredible things about this is that everybody here is just as friendly and positive as can be. It is so wonderful to be around here. And sometimes you sit in, the coach's podcast room here, and it's somewhat of a fishbowl type of mentality where we have glass here and a glass door and glass over here that looks out into the restaurant. And this time of the morning, there's not a lot of people around normally. Yet, so when you do see somebody walk up to talk to our top of the line, top shelf producer, Mr. Everything, Evan Miller, he answers everybody's questions. He takes care of everything. I mean, I think sometimes if the chef has a question of how much spice to put in, I think I see Chef Mark come down here and look at Evan and go, a little more, a little less, whatever it is. But it's absolutely incredible to be a part of this facility. Just like, and the coffee, Opus Coffee, just incredible. Anyways, I promised you before the break that when we came back, we'd talk about Svein Dirkelbatten. Here's a gentleman that at a very young age was like the captain or the top player on the Norwegian, men's basketball world, the country's team. And he came here to the United States probably around age 17, so something in there. Finished high school here and then came on to play ball at the University of Florida. Basketball. Yeah, Svein's about 6'8". One of the nicest men you'd want to meet. Just an absolute wonderful person. And got his engineering degree and started to work in the business of developing, construction, and this is basically his baby, his project. He's a part owner of this restaurant, part owner of Prime and Pearl, but the developer of all of Celebration Point. And he joined us very reluctantly, I will share with you. Svein is not the individual that jumps out in front and leads from that way. He is a very stoic, very quiet, very determined, very calm man. And to get him onto the podcast, I'm told, was a pretty cool thing because that's something that he likes to do. Yet I was Svein's instructor for the Dale Carnegie class, and so I kind of tweaked a couple of strings there to pluck those to say, hey, this is something you got to continue to do or you're going to lose what you invested 8 weeks in. So we had him in here. Just talking to him about what it was like developing this project when the pandemic hit, the stress that the man was under, the way he dealt with it, the way he cushioned and shielded his team, where they did not see any sign of breaking. It was just the determination and the honesty and just being out front and upfront with people that we're going to make this happen. And you can see that in his team. His team absolutely loves working with him. And you never get the feeling that I see that you're working for him. They're a team, and they play together. They work together. It's moving forward. And that was that wonderful, wonderful thing that you saw in Svein. More introverted, has to push himself into those, more social atmospheres. Yet he does it. He does it because it has to be done. Yet enjoys going back into his introverted world and being the mental, the thought, the idea, the creative person that continues to spur ideas and really stimulates in his team other thoughts and other developments. And he's also got this this boyish charm. He's got that way of just that smile and that ease. I guess some people would call it that coolness. Where he just kind of like it's like Mercury moving. It just kind of moves. He's a great leader, and if you want to spend 45 minutes listening to just some wonderful smiles and laughter and fun, pick up the podcast where Svein Dirkelbaum was on it. Absolutely, you'll enjoy the heck out of it. From there, we'll just segue right into one of his partners, which is Freddie Wiebe. Genius. I call him that. I don't know what other people call him. Genius. Wow. What a dynamic man. I wonder, I'm looking at Evan, because Evan absolutely works with and for Freddie. And I'm not expecting a response on this question, but has he ever had a bad day? I don't think so. I mean, here's a guy that, it just, name of his company, make it happen. It's always a positive thing with Freddie. But he shared some incredible leadership ideas from Peter Drucker and different individuals, and his past and his philosophy, and Tom Monahan and the Domino's Pizza time, and the time working with NASA and in the aeronautical side of the world, and just growing up in Ghana and moving to the United States, and the educational side, just absolutely, and number one Gator fan. I mean, huge Gator fan, partner in this restaurant. A lot of the research that was done, this man, if you got a tour of this restaurant with Freddie Wiebe, you'll know where every plate was made, where they bought the silverware from, how they picked the glasses, every single little nook and cranny of the facility has a story, and he is the gentleman that can tell you the story. We're going to use powerful language as we try to teach in our classes. When you come here, if you see Freddie walking around and he's got some time, try to grab his ear a little bit, because you would love to hear some of the stories that surround this building and how it got developed, and the idea, and Steve Spurrier's daughter, who said, "Dad, you need someplace to put all your memorabilia," and all of the things that went on, and just absolutely incredible. So that was a great show also with Freddie Wiebe. Then we had Laura DeBella, the first executive director of the Florida Harbor Pilots Association. Now, this company's been around, this organization, I should say, has been around since the mid-1800s. And here was their first executive director. First time they ever hired somebody to say, hey, we need some guidance and some help. Second thing of that is it tends to be a fairly masculine entity, and Laura is anything but that. And so the fact that they reached out to her really was interesting. I saw the way she worked in Yulee, up in Nassau County, in the economic side and the community side there as their director. They couldn't have chosen a better person. But it was really interesting to hear her talk about her running career. She has won the. I know that she'll be upset at me because I didn't remember how many times you run it, but I'd rather go over. But it's 6 or 7 times that she's won the 7-mile bridge race down in the Keys. And so they kind of named her the Queen of the 7 Mile Bridge. And just amazing how she garners that strength as a leader from the same principles that she garners the strength as a runner and the preparation. You just don't go out and run a marathon. You just don't go out and run 10 miles. Yet people think you just go out and lead. They don't want to prep themselves for that. They don't want to prepare. And if that was the way that a runner lived their life, if you just ran out and ran a 10-mile race, you wouldn't compete very well. You've got to prepare for it and get your body physically, your mental side of it. There's a mental aspect to that because it doesn't matter. You're going to hit the wall sometime. And it's what happens in the mental side of it when you hit that wall. So if you're you can learn a lot from triathletes, from any type of an athlete. Yet people in a leadership role think, I can just roll this out. Hey, whatever it took you to get you where you're at today is not good enough to keep you there. Everybody is nipping and tucking at your tail. So you want to make sure that you push yourself with every tool, every piece of information that you can improve in. And you also need to get good rest, good hydration, keep yourself in physical shape, because being a leader is, if you don't think it's physical, it is physical. There's a big part of it that has a physical side of it. When you're down, when you're feeling tired, you're less effective as a leader at that time. And Laura kind of shared that with us. Let's talk about Andrew Johnstone right here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, the managing partner. He is the guy that oversees the operations. He's the operations manager of this entire facility. You walk in and you, from every speck of dust that is not on the floor or any place that you would see, you can't find one. I dare you to go walk around. Just incredible the way that people act, the way everything is done, the answering of the phone, the greeting people when they walk in. Andrew Johnstone, and he talked to us about what a challenge it was to be hired to this vision, because that's what it was. He was hired to run a vision. They didn't have a facility. It was a slab of dirt. That's it. I think they had a partial foundation when he came on board, and that wasn't their foundation. It was a foundation that was built for another restaurant that was going to go here that the owners backed out. So all of a sudden, you're hired to run this incredible, there's no blueprint. There's nothing like it before, and there's nothing like it since. It was a vision. It was an idea. And your job is to make that idea become a reality. It's one thing when you have something and you can mold it and shape it or tweak it or change the way it looks. You can take a piece of wood, you can make it into a table, you can change some things or cut off one end, square it out, make it round, whatever you want to do. But when you have a project that is just in somebody's head, and you have to make it come to reality. Now, sure, there were builders here. There were construction people putting up everything and doing things. But you're hiring people and selling people on this concept. And you're interviewing people, and you're not just hiring bodies. You're looking for a particular type of individual that has a particular skill set, that has the same ability to grasp a vision and help other people see it. Absolutely stupendous. I mean, absolutely, to sit and listen to Andrew talk with us about his different places that he's worked, his time with the Outback folks and being in Oklahoma and different places around and the different restaurants that he's been a part of. And then to come here, let me throw in a pandemic, okay? All of a sudden, people don't want to work anymore. So your start date of around April something or May 1st all of a sudden gets moved back to August 11th. And you've got to keep these people that you hired happy, so you're paying them and you're working with them, and you've got challenges going on. Leadership personified. Great. It was fun to listen to him and enjoy his thoughts on leadership. Then we'll jump into Stephanie Stuckey. Family business, 1937, I believe it was when her grandfather started Stuckey's. What a great time to listen to her. Evan and I have talked a few times since then that we could have just sat there and listened to her for hours, because the stories that she told and the ideas. And I love when I was able to ask her a question that kind of stumped her, like the one question, it was, did he put him on the side of the road where people were going north, or did he put him on the side of the road where people were going south, being the Stuckey stores? She was like, wow, that's, yeah, because her grandfather thought that through. He had to. He knew instinctively where the best place and time to reach the traveler was. And after we worked through it, she shared some of those ideas where I remember him saying, these things and that, and we were able to get that story out, that most of them were for the travelers going back north. Because when you were coming south, as she said, they wanted to hang on to their money because they were going to spend it on their vacation. And then when they were traveling north, they had some left over. So they wanted to spend it on little knickknacks or some food or some stops or wherever. And the Stuckeys were there. That's what it was. And that's what it is today. And how she's rebranding it and revitalizing it and bringing the energy back and the things that she's done. And I loved how she shared with us the story with her dad, who was the CEO of the company for a long time, a fabled politician in his own right, where he said to her, Stephanie, you couldn't run a lemonade stand. How are you going to run this company? And she didn't get upset, didn't let it, deter her thought process or mental process to get where she wanted to, just pushed her harder forward to get it done, and has done an incredible job. So if you would love to listen to some of those stories about family business and about getting involved in the family business when everybody tells you, stay away, and you just go, wait, that name is mine too. I want to build this brand back up. And you jump in both feet, all the energy in the world, go on a country-wide tour to promote and knock on doors and take pictures and use social media. Absolutely incredible story. And that energy that she had of a single mom, just CEO, mom, energized, daughter, sister, just it was really cool to see that. It was fun, and you watch that episode and just enjoy the heck out of that. And then last week, finally, we had who I refer to as Chief Dan Robinson on. When I knew Dan back in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, he was chief of police of Lincoln Township, a little small little nugget right on Lake Michigan. If you ever get a chance to go there, if you don't know where it is, I don't even know if they put it on GPS yet, but if you don't know where it is, ask somebody, because Lincoln Township and the little surroundings around it have some great areas. there's a road down there called Notre Dame. See, that area is only like 30 minutes north of the campus in South Bend, Indiana. And there's a house right on Lake Michigan that was Newt Rockney's summer home. And he went to some other people in his family after that. I don't know where it is now, as if it got sold or whatever. But it's just this pristine little corner on Lake Michigan. But from that area, that whole general area, there are some incredible places. Kate Upton is from there, the Upton family, Fred Upton, the people that founded Whirlpool, that's their area. Sinbad, the comedian, I used to play basketball with his dad. I just called him the Rev. He was Reverend Adkins. Sinbad's real name is David Adkins. Just some incredible individuals and people live in that little area. In the small part of it, Lincoln Township, Dan Robinson was the chief of police there. But you were really the chief of police of the whole area, because they had their own chiefs of police in St. Joe and in Stevensville and in Benton Harbor. Yet it was just such a small little community that everybody was just kind of together. And Dan shared how he made that change from the law enforcement world to the business world. That was really, really interesting to hear that from him. And then we shared some great memories about our travels with the opposing teams at Notre Dame football, because Dan was the bodyguard for the opposition team when they came in to play Notre Dame. He would be the guy, that state police trooper or that policeman that you always see run the coach on the field, or when they're doing an interview afterwards, he's trying to get him away and keep the crowd away from him. And Dan always was nice enough. Not just me. I mean, he took a lot of our friends as his guests because it was always a +1. He brought somebody else, and we worked. I mean, it wasn't just fun and games. We were there to keep our eye on different things, but we had a great time. Yet, one of the greatest leadership lessons that I ever learned in my life was shared with Chief Robinson, and I shared it on that show. It was 1992 Thanksgiving weekend. It was after the Rodney King riots in L.A., and I think it was South Central L.A. was pretty much gone. I mean, it was really in bad shape. And we were going from the hotel. We were in the caravan with the football team. We had traveled with Notre Dame to the USC football game. And we were going in the caravan. We were in a rented SUV. There was 4 gentlemen in it, following along in it. And we knew what the path was. We had 2 police officers, a football coach, and myself in the car. And we knew what the path was and the roads we were taking. And all of a sudden, we take a detour. And we are headed right into where the heart of what the riots had been. Absolutely incredible. And the reason we found out afterward what had happened is Lou Holtz, they had a young man, I think his name was Tom Carter, a defensive back that played for Notre Dame at that time. And he was from that neighborhood. And Coach Holtz wanted to share with all of his teammates what went on in their teammates' home area in his neighborhood. And so they got to see that as they rode through. I don't know, they whooped USC that day. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but that was just an absolutely incredible time. Just a lot of fun, and you can relive that with Dan Robinson. So that's all 11 shows. I appreciate you letting me share those things. I want to give a shout out. A couple of days ago, we found out I started this thing 2 weeks ago with the RPS, which is Relentless Pursuit of Success. The first one was my son because I admire him so much as a business person. Last week we had talked about Tom Brady and just his commitment to keep his body in shape. I saw an article the other day. He said, I think I can play until I'm 55. I don't want to because my kids are growing up and I want to be a part of that family and I miss them. Yet that is the mentality that says I can continue to go. And I want to give a shout out as my RPS, Relentless Pursuit of Success person today, to a man that was hugely influential in my life. I mean, I have not talked to him in probably 40 years. He knows how I felt about him and what he meant to all of the young men that played on the baseball team at the University of Detroit back in those 4 or 5 years that he was the basketball coach and the athletic director. But we found out that Coach Dick Vitale, has lymphoma. He's starting chemo this Friday, tomorrow. And, thoughts and prayers are with us. But you want to talk about relentless pursuit of success. This man has reinvented himself time and time and time again. And what an inspiration to the world. 80 plus years old now, just absolutely energized. Just an incredible, incredible person. And I remember in 1973, when this gentleman with these really wacky glasses, these funky pants that were as bright as could be, came to the University of Detroit as a first-year basketball coach. I was a freshman, just coming in to play baseball there. We shared a locker room at that time with the basketball team, so Coach was always around us, and we were always around Coach. But that energy, he was probably in his mid-30s at that time, that enthusiasm and energy and his Jersey accent, he just absolutely could light up a room. And he's been doing it ever since. And when he went to the Pistons as their head coach, it didn't work out. But it never stopped him. He created an entire world at ESPN. ESPN was a fledgling product back then. And this man just absolutely sold himself and his attitude and his enthusiasm to the world. So I'll always know you as Coach Vitale. Coach, RPS, Relentless Pursuit of Success. And you have that relentless pursuit of success in this fight you got going. We're all with you. All of us young guys that you influence that you have no clue that you influence, that you made a major indelible mark on who I am as a person, was those 4-5 years spent with you at the University of Detroit. Even though we didn't play for you, you were part of who we were. So we're with you in this fight you got going, sir. So a lot of things going on. End with this thought: silence. Sometimes it's good to have silence. Silence. Think about this. When a tree falls, it makes a loud noise. Destruction is loud. But when you plant a seed and it grows, you hear nothing. Nothing. Growth happens when it's quiet. Just think about that. Appreciate you listening, viewing, being with us. Next week, we'll have a new guest. It's a little bit of a surprise right now because it's a surprise to me. I'm always honest. I will come up with a great guest for next week. This is MotivationU the Podcast from my good friend Evan Miller, the producer extraordinaire. I'm Bob Ganzak, coming to you live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill at Celebration Point, right here in the Coach's Own podcast room. This is MotivationU the Podcast.